Yeah. Sylvie on the beat, boy.
When I think about returning to the US, I have the same feeling, that it's not a matter of if, it was never a matter of if, it was a matter of when. And I daydream all the time of showing up to my mom's house and surprising her. I daydream all the time of returning to my childhood home and driving the same streets that I drove on for years. I daydream of watching my kids walk across their graduation in the US. I daydream of hanging out with my family on holidays. I daydream of my mom's scent sometimes, just walking into her house and smelling her perfume. Alright, waiting to board our flight to head to the embassy this morning. My appointment is tomorrow morning at 8, first thing bright and early. And I'm just sitting here in awe of how far I have come. How far I have come for those babies. From fighting to get them home to me here in Mexico, to now fighting to get us home, to get them home. I've spent a good 2 years on my platform sharing my journey with you guys and, you know, the life that we've rebuilt, and I've always said I'm happy here, I'm content. We've made the best out of a bad situation, but I have to try to get them home. I want to be able to cross that border with them. I want to be able to be there if they need me one day when they move back, if they go back to school. I just can't believe we're headed there today. A part of this journey is emotional because I know that I represent many like me, many felons, many deported immigrants who think they don't have a shot. And if I have a shot, if I have a case, if there's a small window of hope for me, there's hope for so many more who are like me, who are living in the shadows, who have no idea that maybe, just maybe they can go home. Just maybe they can ask for clemency. Just maybe they can ask for forgiveness, for redemption, for a shot at redemption. The platform is all about second chances, all about redeeming ourselves after bad decisions and rebuilding. I can't believe it, guys. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. The timing of this happening right now is completely surreal. And I believe that everything happens the way that it does for a reason, at the time that it needs to happen, with the people that it needs to happen. I have always lived by that, and I trusted in that. Even when I got deported, I held on to my faith that this is all happening for something. It doesn't always make sense at the moment, but when I look back, it makes sense now. And as I'm going through this right now, with all these other chaotic, hectic events, to receive the call for this appointment in the middle of a very chaotic, stressful, doubtful time as I'm maneuvering through all this bull crap with, you know, my abuser. God's timing is perfect, and this is exactly what I needed to redirect, to refocus, to remember my mission, to remember what I'm actually out here doing, to remember why I built this platform, why I've shared so much of my life with you guys, from the goods to the lows, to the things that I'm proud of, to the things that I'm ashamed of. I'm just, it's emotional to be boarding this plane. I can't wait for the kids to see one day how hard I fought for them. How hard I fought for them. Because this is all for them. I don't need to return. If it was just for me, I would be fine here. that they're American and they deserve to be on American soil if they want to be, if they need to be. Yeah, alright. I'll check in with you guys tomorrow, and I'm excited to share this journey. Like the streets here, they're so pretty. We'll be here in 4 minutes. Remember when we made my first YouTube video?
Yeah.
The glow up.
Oh, with the puppies?
No, we filmed my very first YouTube video. Remember when we went around PB and we retraced them?
How many YouTube videos do you have now?
I don't know. I lost track. I have like little playlists now, like different. I really love the weather out here.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's like fall. We don't get fall on TV or playa. It's like always summer.
It's a good look.
Una cámara.
Okay, gracias.
Ahí es de salida.
Esa es salida.
Ah, mira, hay una vete caminando sobre banqueta y ella le es entrada.
Okay,
Nada más que
gracias.
no pueden pasar cosas electrónicas como tu cámara y tu celular, no importa que esté apagado, te van a regresar. Perfume, maquillaje, encendedor, cigarros, cables, audífonos, argollas, llaves de tu casa, tampoco te van a dejar pasar y te van a regresar. Si gustas, yo tengo servicio de paquetería y si gustas, se puede llevar.
No, gracias. He said, oh look, this is, he said they're not gonna let us take any electronics in.
Uh-oh. Okay. Well, oh shit, baby, you're on fire. Let's get in here.
Oh my god. My appointment's at 8. Should we have been here earlier?
Oh, yeah.
Fuck.
So you vlogging this? Okay.
Yeah. Am I gonna
It's a
need
nice hotel.
Am I gonna need a face mask?
Oh, we do. It's okay.
Bag.
There's a pharmacy. I'm gonna have to stay outside, baby.
Yeah. Possibly. What is this?
It's not.
Disculpe, ¿aquí es entrada al consulado? Es esta línea.
Nada más sin apuntar hacia la embajada porque le van a tomar sus datos y...
They search you the way they like tell you where to go. Like, it was not a friendly place. It was
At all?
not a friendly place in there.
Like they're cold?
Yeah. And so like the security is all like Mexicans, I'm sure, that work for them.
Uh-huh.
But the actual staff is like white people in suits.
Right.
It was like being in a U.S. office.
That's wild.
But even like to get in there, so you can't take your phone. There were some people that had their phone on them and then they made them take it out, turn it off, and hand it to them. And then to go through the scanners, they made me take off everything, even my signature. I was like, I don't have anything.
They didn't want you to even have your phone. You couldn't have
You can't
anything.
take your phone in there. You can't have anything besides your documents.
Right. Just a security thing, I guess.
This is, yeah.
So look, that place looks good. I don't know, there's a turnaround
Let's go
right here. Okay.
I was scared here. I forgot how to live in the city.
Yeah, it's crazy here, babe.
Welcome back, YouTube. Today we're going to talk about my journey through the UVISA application. For those of you that have been following my story, you probably already know why we're here. You may have come over from Instagram. But for those of you that may be new, I'm going to give you guys a quick recap to let you know how we've gotten here today. I am recording this from Ciudad de Mexico. I have just left the U.S. Embassy this morning. And I want to, before I give you guys an update, I want to share with you guys this entire journey for my UVISA, because when I was deported almost 5 years ago, this is not something that I even saw in the realm of possibilities for me. If you are familiar with my story, you know that I was deported as a green card holder, aka permanent resident, for committing crimes of moral turpitude. If you've missed the recap on that, you can go back to this previous video where I go into depth as to what those crimes were. I was a permanent resident since the age of 18, and my green card was revoked due to the fact that I committed these crimes. I was picked up by ICE in 2018 and the deportation proceedings commenced. I opted not to fight for my green card, and I agreed to pretty much relinquish my green card on the grounds that I knew that you know, I had violated the terms of my green card by committing such crimes. Now, at the time of my arrest by ICE, although immigration proceedings had commenced, I had the option to file for a lot of forms of immigration relief. As you guys know, I was a single mother of 5 US born children. I was also eligible for a UVISA. At the time of my apprehension by ICE, I chose not to fight my case because I was subject to mandatory detention due to the fact that I am an aggravated felon. And at the time of my apprehension, I had a 7-month-old nursing baby. So in my attempt to get back to her as soon as possible, I signed my deportation order, and from there began my journey in Mexico. Now, I had always had the what ifs of if I had fought for my case. I could have filed for cancellation of removal. I could have filed for a UVISA. There are several forms of immigration relief that I was eligible for, but I chose not to pursue it because I didn't want to sit in jail for years while my case played out. Now, once I was deported, I thought that was it. I never really had any inkling to return. I never really felt there was a possibility. I made peace with the fact that I was going to live here, I was going to rebuild here, and I was going to one day bring my children here to join me. And that's exactly what I did. I built a pretty stable life. I was very blessed with employment opportunities, with the skills that I had attained through my time living in the US and working for US employers. As you guys know, I have worked for a US-based employer throughout the entire time that I have lived here. I have earned in dollars, and it's allowed me to maintain a comfortable lifestyle for my children and I. So with all those things, as a quick recap, I'm going to show you guys where all of this UVISA stuff started. Because 2 years ago, even a year ago, I had no plans to file to return to the US. Again, I had made peace with my life here. I was content. Of course, there were some unresolved feelings, and I always wondered what would have happened if I had waited in jail and fought my case. Could I have saved my green card? Among other things that I had, you know, just the what ifs. So anyway, all of this began on TikTok. You guys know that my platforms were born there. My audience was born on TikTok. Although I am no longer on the platform, I was blessed with many opportunities, including this new journey of the UVISA. So before we get started, let's take a look back on my TikTok history and how we got here. What were the videos? So all of this began with one viral video where I shared my deportation story and a little bit about my struggle to reunite with my children and being deported as a nursing mother of 5. I'm going to play the audio for you, or I'm going to play the TikTok for you without audio because copyright issues. So here we go. once this video went viral, a ton of you had questions and people wanted to know more. They wanted to know the circumstances surrounding my deportation. How could this have happened? You had a nursing baby, you had been here your whole life. And the majority of you probably already know all of that, the circumstances regarding my deportation. And from there, my TikTok grew, my platforms grew. A lot of you became captivated by the story, curious about the story, and wanted more answers as to how certain things could have happened. How could, you know, a nursing mother, been separated? What were these crimes? Why did you commit these crimes? Why would you jeopardize, you know, your papers, things that people spend their entire life trying to get? And I've gone and explained a lot of that through the journey to the last year or two on social media, that you guys can go back and look at some of these videos. But that brings us to today. So once I shared my TikTok, once my TikTok began to grow, I kept sharing more of my story. I was very transparent in why I got deported. I shared the fact that I committed these crimes that ultimately led to the forfeit of my green card. And it got the attention of a law firm that reached out. So here's a quick clip of how this started. Though I had several grounds for immigration relief.
Hey Annie, really like your story. I appreciate you putting it on TikTok. It really does open the door for people to understand what it's like to go through a deportation process. One point I wanted to make just for you is that the UVISA is actually a very long process. It takes 4 years even to get the final approval. And it is the one visa that includes an actual waiver on it. So I realize there's a lot of details in your case that I don't know, but if you talk to your attorney, maybe you can apply for the UVISA now and give you a future option of coming back to the United States a couple years down the road. Anyway, stay well out there, and thanks for the videos. Bye.
The UVISA had actually always been my plan. I knew that at some point I could face deportation because of the crimes that I had committed. So prior to my apprehension by ICE, I had a plan to file for this UVISA, but I did not know that I would be apprehended and held in jail to do so, which is why I chose not to. I felt like it was more important for me to get back to my kids than to fight for my green card, even if that meant I was living here in Mexico. So this law firm reached out and we set up a consultation just to go over my case and to see what are the odds. They needed to know more information because every case is very, very unique. My case there is no case that is alike. There are mitigating factors to every different individual's case. So my case coming this far does not mean somebody else's case that may have a similar case could come this far, because the circumstances are never identical. So for those of you that have asked me, how have you done it? My best advice to you is always reach out to an immigration attorney. A lot of them do free consultations. So anyway, once I had this consultation with my with these attorneys that saw my story on TikTok, and I divulged a lot of, you know, the information needed to determine, do we have a case? And they said, yes, you have a case. You can file for this UVISA from outside of the US. Yes, you can file for a waiver of inadmissibility for your crimes. You can ask for a pardon. You can do this, you can do that. Things that I didn't know were even possible from outside of the US. Once I was deported, I thought that was it. That's the end. If you're deported, there's nothing you can do about it. But that's not the case. I can reopen my case. I can file for a UVISA. I can present these new facts that I wasn't able to present when I was held and when I chose to sign my deportation order because of the circumstances. I really felt like I was put in a corner. You know, do you want your green card or do you want to be free? If you want to fight for your green card, that means you have to sit in jail for possibly years while you fight for it, although you have claims to immigration relief despite these crimes, or you can sign here and be free and be reunited with your kids. Under desperation, without good legal representation at the time, I signed my deportation order. And so I really felt like I was almost robbed of my ability to plead my case because of my circumstances. Or maybe not robbed, but I felt like if the circumstances had been different and I hadn't been, you know, given those to ultimatums. Do you want to be with your nursing baby or do you want to fight for your green card? I think the majority of us mothers, especially desperate mothers, would choose to be with our nursing babies. So now that it's been a few years and, you know, the law firm reached out and said, yes, we can do this, and yes, we believe in your case. They took my case, and this was last year. We went through, you know, months of paperwork and getting the UVISA certification from the police department, getting court records, getting all of my history to be able to present my case. And let me tell you something, part of this process has been very healing just because I was given the opportunity to plead my case. And when I sat in a jail cell for those 10 days, knowing that I was going to choose deportation rather than fight it, I always wondered what would have happened if I had fought. I always believed that I could have won. I felt like I had a strong case. These attorneys felt like I still had a strong case, and they believed in my case enough to take it on without really asking for much of me. I knew that going into this process was going to be very triggering, very emotional, because it meant going back into my past. Part of the reason why I chose to sign my deportation order is because I knew that I was guilty of the crimes that I had committed, and I didn't really want to put my life on trial. I knew that I would be dissected for the person that I was on paper. I knew that the reasons why I committed the crimes were not relevant to the court. It would just be the fact that I committed them, or at least that's what I believed at the time. Now that I have, this amazing legal team representing me and my children, I know that there's a lot more to it, and I know that there is hope, and there's been hope. And so we began this journey last year. It was very, very triggering because it meant I had to dip into my past. And when I got deported, part of, my deportation to me felt like freedom. Like I was leaving behind my old life, all the mistakes that I had made, all the trauma, all the drama, and I could just start fresh here. And nobody would know me, nobody would know who I was, nobody would know the mistakes that I had committed, nobody would know me for a felon. Here, it was a brand new start. But now that I have taken on this journey into the UVISA, it means going back into my past, reopening some of those chapters, putting them out for display again to the courts and social media, because it's part of what I have built my platform on, is sharing this experience with you, sharing the journey, and lighting the way for other people like me. I have received a lot of hate from people that are not fond of my story. When you hear of a convicted felon possibly returning after deportation, it doesn't sit well with many, because as felons, society just doesn't really believe we deserve a second chance. The idea that somebody like me could return to the US legally is unfathomable to some, because there are many people without criminal records that have a hard time crossing legally once or obtaining papers legally once. And so I very much sympathize with other immigrants who have had a harder journey than mine, but it does not discredit my own journey and my own struggle. I have connected with a lot of people like me through my platforms. Hundreds, probably thousands of you have reached out to me through DMs with similar situations that have been deported for drug crimes, for violent crimes, for domestics, for fraud, and that are living a very similar life to mine and want to know, is there hope for me? And part of my story has always been not being the norm. I usually beat the odds, and I say that in the most humble way, beginning with my custody case, where the majority of people believed that once I was deported, that would be it, and I would fall off the face of the earth. But instead, I fought back from a country away very vigorously until my children were returned to me, and I now have all 5 of them living here comfortably, happily. I intend for this UVISA process has been just that, at least thus far, is beating the odds, lighting the way for other people like me who are supposed to live in the shadows with their shame and regret of the mistakes that we have committed. With the labels of a felon, a criminal, a convict, a scammer, whatever else, this society has labeled me, or others that have committed similar offenses or just offenses in general. I believe that my story has lit the way for a lot of people in different aspects, not just from filing the UVISA, but from being able to build a comfortable life here, being able to thrive here. A lot of us look at deportation like it's the end, and like there's nothing out here for us, and we're just going to shrivel up in a corner and struggle, which a lot of us do, but there's hope for better. There's hope to actually thrive and live and rebuild, and I have shown that through the course of the last years. I've had a lot of families that have reached out to me that are facing deportation, that have family members in ICE detention. I have helped people communicate with ICE to allow their family members to bring their belongings when they're going. I mean, so many things that we have accomplished together on this platform. And so that brings us to today. As you guys know, I have been going through the ringer when it comes to my personal life, even my platforms. I have been going through a lot. And I had lost myself in some of that drama with, you know, Walter and social media. And about a week ago, it's so ironic how all of this happened, and the timing is what made it was what sparked my faith in my journey in God, and the fact that everything happens the way that it needs to, when it needs to, and how it needs to. Last week I was in the middle of a live, and during that live I got a screenshot of a very disturbing post from Walter that really triggered me. I spoke about it in my past YouTube video where, you know, he was mocking my childhood trauma, and I had to jump off live and I had to regroup, and I was really upset and I was crying, and you know, it really sucked the life out of me. And I got back on live and I finished my live as if nothing had happened. And once I jumped off the live that night, I really just broke down. I broke down and I was trying to figure out, what am I going to do? How am I going to deal with this? How do I get this to stop? How do I get this feeling to stop? How do I get my peace back? How do I go back to Annie before all this mess? Well, the next day I was in the middle of making a poor decision. I'll just leave it at that. A very poor decision. And as I was picking up the phone to follow through with this poor decision, I got a call from my attorneys that have filed my UVISA last year. And my attorney said, Annie, I've been trying to get a hold of you. Every time I call, you know, my calls don't go through because my number is just really funny when it comes, my cell phone carrier is just really particular when it comes to receiving calls from the US. And so we had been working on some matters regarding my UVISA, and I thought it was related to that, but she said, I need you to be in Mexico City next week for your appointment with USCIS. And oh, my heart just dropped, you guys. My heart just, because it was the timing, it was the way that it happened, the way that it just quickly like redirected my focus, and it pulled me out of all this fuckery that I had been dealing with, the drama, the lapse of judgment, the need to, like, you know, validate myself and redeem myself in front of all these people that were just trashing me and abusing me on social media. And I said, what do you mean be in Mexico City next week? You know, it's like, I have 5 kids. What am I gonna, I can't get there next week. And a lot of you are on here looking for details as to what exactly does this mean. And the day that I cross back into the US with my 5 children, I will be more than happy to share with you guys step by step and detail by detail of how I got there. But right now, I'm still in Mexico City. But what I can share with you is that this event, the fact that I'm here, the fact that I walked into the US Embassy today, when I walked in there this morning, I felt it was scary because it was the same offices that kicked me out of the US that are now processing my application to return. I walked into the Office of Homeland Security this morning. It was very surreal. For a moment, it felt like I was back in the US. It felt like a US office. Leading up to this appointment, I've had a lot of mixed emotions about what this means for us, how this is going to change our life, and most importantly, humbled by the opportunity to light the way for people like me. Felons and criminals and scammers and whatever it is that you want to label us, that are worthy of a second chance, that are worthy of redemption. I heavily believe in redemption. I believe we're all capable of it. I believe we all deserve a chance to rejoin society, to right our wrongs, to take accountability, etc. And so that is just that for me today. And now let's talk about some of the facts around the UVISA, because a lot of people, you know, I get a lot of hate and, you know, assumptions that there's just no way, you're never going to get back into the US. Your UVISA is going to be denied. Let me tell you something. My UVISA was not denied, and I am a felon, and I did commit crimes. And so let's talk about what exactly is the UVISA, right? Particularly for someone like me who has a criminal record. The UVISA is the only visa that includes a waiver of inadmissibility. A waiver of inadmissibility is pretty much a pardon for any criminal activity that you have been a part of, with the exception of crimes against the U.S., treason, and things of that sort, from what my attorney has communicated to me. My attorneys talk to me about success cases that they have had with violent crimes. Sometimes, you know, violent crimes are a little bit of a challenge to get approved on the waivers, but they're not impossible, and they've had several success cases where people have been granted their UVISAs despite despite violent crimes, gang-related crimes, etc. But anyway, let's talk about what is the UVISA. The UVISA is a visa for those, for anybody that has been the victim of a qualifying crime and has assisted law enforcement in the prosecution of said crime. This is a long list of crimes that would make you eligible for the UVISA. Now, it is not limited to these crimes, but here are some of the most common: abduction, sexual abuse, extortion, domestic violence, felonious assault, kidnapping, manslaughter, obstruction of justice, perjury, prostitution, rape, sexual assault, sexual exploitation, stalking, torture, trafficking, slave trade. I mean, there's a long list of crimes that can qualify you for this visa. To be eligible for the UVISA, you have to have been a victim of a qualifying crime and assisted law enforcement in the prosecution of said crime. So in my example, my crime was a domestic violence incident. I reported the crime to the police, and I assisted the prosecutor in the prosecution of the crime. You have to have those three elements for this to push through past the first stage, which is getting your UVISA certification from the police department. So before you can even apply for the UVISA, the police department has to provide you with a form that your attorney gets, or you can get on your own, that says, yes, this person was a victim of this crime, and yes, this person assisted us in prosecuting this crime. Let's talk about the waiver of inadmissibility. One of the first things that I have been constantly discouraged with on my platforms once I started sharing that I would be pursuing the UVISA are my felonies. There's no way you're gonna get into there's no way you can get a UVISA. You're gonna get denied. You're a felon. What are you thinking? Oh my God, she's so stupid. She's never gonna get back into the US. The UVISA includes a waiver of inadmissibility. What is a waiver of inadmissibility? It is a pardon for your crimes, and the UVISA covers the majority of crimes, with the exception of crimes against the US, treason, and what's the other one? Terrorism, shit like that. Really serious shit. Not to minimize, you know, other crimes that have been committed, but typically crimes against the US are the exceptions that the UVISA will not cover. The UVISA can cover violent crimes. The UVISA can cover a lot of drug crimes as well. It is all case by case. When I spoke with my attorney, they spoke to me about a lot of success stories that they had with violent gang-related crimes that the UVISA covered. Violent crimes are more of a challenge for the UVISA to waive, but not impossible. My particular crimes did not involve any type of violence. They are financial, white-collar crimes. So for me, you know, the criminal background, although it does pose a challenge, then, you know, somebody that, now for me, my criminal background, of course, does present an obstacle versus somebody that didn't have a criminal record, but it does not mean you don't have a claim. It does not mean you will be denied. So the best thing that I can give you guys, all of you guys that constantly reach out to me and ask me, how did you do it? Consult an attorney, because every case is different. And the fact that somebody else's case was denied doesn't mean yours will be denied. The fact that my case was approved doesn't mean your case will be approved, and vice versa, because every case is unique. No case is the same. Everybody has mitigating factors, different circumstances that, you know, affect the process of the UVISA. Everybody has a different attorney. You really need a good attorney on your side, an attorney that believes in your case, that will work your case. There are a lot of attorneys out there that will just take people's money, unfortunately. It is not a fair game. It is not, it's a cruel world where I have had a lot of people that I've known that have lost money to tons of attorneys, and at the end of the day their case is still at step one. So consult an immigration attorney for your case specifically, so you can know, you know, what type of odds you have. Take it from someone like me that thought I had no way, no hope, that there was just no way that a deported felon. Let me tell you, when I was in immigration detention, okay, and I was in there for 10 days deciding, do I sign my deportation order? Do I fight? I was in there with military wives with no criminal record that had been there for years fighting their case. And when I saw them, I thought, if they don't have a shot and they have no record and they're married to a Marine, I don't have a shot as a felon with all these crimes. There's no way. So that's why I signed. I no longer look at it that way because I know that each case is different. And again, the factors are different. And just being able to present my story, being able to present my case to a judge so that I can explain my story more than just what's on paper, more than just what's on my criminal records, has been so healing, so humbling, because I feel like this is something that was taken from me due to the circumstances of my deportation. If you have followed my story and you know why I was apprehended, I'm not going to get into that today, but my personal feelings are that people maliciously intervened in my case, and due to that, due to the circumstances during my incarceration, I chose not to fight. And I have always wondered and sometimes hoped I should have fought. I should have sat in jail and waited and and maybe I would still be there. But, you know, the desperation to get back to my infant overtook everything, and that's why I'm here now. But just to know that there is hope even after deportation, that you can even reopen a deportation case. I didn't even know that. I thought once you're deported, that's it, you're done, bye, finito, it was nice to meet you. But you can reopen deportation cases. You can open appeals. You can do a lot of things, but you need the right people on your team. This last week has been just life-changing for me. The kids, explaining to them what's going on, and, you know, just trying to deal with all these life changes that are being dumped on us at once. Some of them are good changes, some of them are difficult changes, but we're embracing all of them, including being here today, being in the city, walking into the U.S. Embassy. I have no words to really articulate what I felt this morning as I was in there completing my process. And you know, when I first got deported and I was here without my kids and I was fighting for them through, you know, our custody case, I would often daydream about reuniting with them. And it would always make me teary-eyed, and it was something that I knew was going to happen one day. I just didn't know when. I always knew it's not a matter of if I get my kids back, it's a matter of when. I believed in it so much, and it came true. And when I think about returning to the U.S., I have the same feeling, that it's not a matter of if, it was never a matter of if, it was a matter of when. And I daydream all the time of showing up to my mom's house and surprising her. I daydream all the time of returning to my childhood home and driving the same streets that I drove on for years. I daydream of watching my kids walk across their graduation in the U.S. I daydream of hanging out with my family on holidays. I daydream of my mom's scent sometimes, just walking into her house and smelling her perfume. I daydream of the day that I'll cross the border with my 5 kids in tow to take them home. If it was for me, I like my life here. I like everything that I built. But I feel an obligation to take my children home. I feel a need to be able to come and go for my children. I feel a need, I feel an obligation for my children to have the opportunity to grow up in the States. And I feel a need to light the way back for a lot of people like me that feel American, that grow up American. The only thing that we lack is the paperwork. I've been here 5 years and I still don't feel like I fit in. I still don't feel like I'm accepted by the locals. I still don't feel like a local. I still feel like I'm looking for my place of belonging out here. And I've come to learn that home is wherever my children are. And I have found solace in that as I try to rebuild out here. But my roots will always be in Utah. And I daydream. I can see it. It's tangible. Of the day that I cross back with my children. And being able to look back and tell them the story of how much we went through, how much I fought for them to be here, for them to be able to go back, and for us to be together. Wherever it is that may be.